My name is Amanda and welcome to our Power and Balance series. We'll be doing this in the chair and using the chair, so we'll be both seated and standing today. Make sure you have a sturdy and stable chair, preferably with a back on the chair, so that you can use it in different ways that I'll show you as we go through the poses. And because we are working on some power poses, it would be a really good idea for you to do some warm-ups before you do this practice. So maybe you want to check out my seated warm-up video or my standing warm-up video, or you could even do some warm-ups of your own. And when you're ready, if you'll join me in your seated position on your chair, placing your feet in front of you, soles of the feet on the ground, taking a moment here to orient yourself to this practice, breathing, inhaling and exhaling, perhaps bringing your hands to heart center. And one more breath. And then you could lower your arms. We'll do some shoulder warm-ups. So raising the shoulders up and dropping them, raising them up and dropping them, and then rotating the shoulders. So you can do one shoulder at a time or both at the same time. And then moving in the other direction. So shoulders come forward, maybe both at the same time. Hands can be in your lap or draped along your sides. And then you could even place hands on shoulders and do the shoulder rotation with very bent elbows. And if you go one way, make sure you go the other way. And then bringing your hands back in towards your lap. So hands coming back to heart center, pressing the hands together, the palms together, fingers a little bit spread, thumb towards your heart, heart towards your thumb, sitting up nice and straight. Take one breath here in stillness, inhaling and exhaling. On the next inhale, arms float up to the sky. And then exhaling, palms come together and hands back to heart center. And again, so inhale, arms up. If your arms don't want to go all the way up straight, you can bend the elbows. You could have them out to a V shape, and then exhale, hands back to heart center, and then one more time, inhale, arms up, maybe looking up, and exhale, heart center. And bringing the arms down towards your chair, we'll be moving a little bit forward on the chair because we're going to stretch out one foot along the mat, flexing that foot deeply. Toes are pointed more up towards the sky, and we're going to do a hamstring stretch. So on the inhale, get taller. Think about the crown of the head reaching for the sky. On the exhale, hinge at your hip to lean forward. This could be a very small movement, and you might want to adjust to find a place to do this that's comfortable on the chair. So you stop when you feel the hamstring stretch, trying to keep a straight spine and your head in alignment with your spine and trying not to cave over. So enjoying this stretch behind the leg and the hamstring. One more breath and exhale. And then bringing the foot back so the sole of the foot's on the ground, and then reaching the other foot in front of you. Heel is on the ground, foot is deeply flexed at the ankle, and the toes are pointed up to the sky. So again, you're facing forward, hips are even. On the inhale, get taller. On the exhale, lean forward. It could be a very small movement, stopping when you feel that hamstring stretch. Waiting here for a moment with a one breath in and out. Then bringing that foot back in towards you, and you could readjust on the chair, maybe sitting back a little bit towards the middle of the chair. And we'll start by bringing our knees off the floor, so raising one knee and leg and then the other. So we're sort of marching here. So you could raise the leg any amount if you'd like to raise them a little higher. As long as you're keeping your back somewhat straight and not, again, rounding over, caving over. We can march. You could march a little faster. You could always keep your feet on the ground and march with your heels coming off of the mat. And maybe going a little bit faster and then stop. Okay. So now we have a sun salutation. So this is the seated sun salutation series, starting again with feet and soles of the feet on the floor, facing forward. You're going to start by raising the arms up to the sky and then exhale, cactus arms. So if you've done my other videos, you know cactus arms are two right-angled arms, palms facing forward, okay? So stopping with cactus arms and leaning a little bit forward any amount, and then inhaling here, and then exhale, take the fold. So it's a forward fold, but you're seated. So your arms could be on your legs, they could be on your lap, they could be on the floor, wherever you like, okay? And you're allowing the top half of your body to release forward. On the next inhale, you twist to one side, so your torso is twisting. Your hand could be at the hip or above you. And then exhale, lower, and then the twist to the other side. So inhale, twist, and exhale, lower. And then inhale, root down through the feet to rise up, arms up, and exhale, hands to heart center. So that is one sun salutation. We'll do a couple more at a little bit faster pace. So we finish with hands at heart center. On the next inhale, arms float up to the sky, and exhale, cactus arms, leaning forward, and take a big inhale here. So, and exhale, take the fold. Inhale, twist, one arm up, and exhale, lower. Your arms could also be on your legs for this. Inhale, twist, and exhale, lower. Inhale, root down through the feet and the seat to rise up, and exhale, hands to heart center. And one more time. So inhale, arms up, and exhale, cactus, halfway over. And take a deep inhale here. So inhaling, and then exhale, take the fold. Inhale, twisting to one side, any amount. Exhale, lower down, and then inhale, twist to the other side, any amount, and exhale, lower down. Inhale, root down through the feet to rise up, and maybe looking up, and exhale, hands to heart center. And then you could lower your hands. So now we're going to move from a seated position to a standing position, but let's do that together and with intention. So let's think about the soles of our feet, our knees pointing forward, our hips about even, and we can do a little bit of rocking. So bringing our toes off and then our heels off and sort of shifting directions front to back. So on the count of 3, and we can also be holding onto our chair. On the count of 3, we will blast off and we will stand up together, okay? So on the 1 and the 2 and the 3. And we come up to stand, and we've done that in a nice, safe way. Okay. So now we have some standing poses where you will be using a chair for support. So for me, I'm just going to move my chair to this side of my mat. It can be either side for you. And I'm making sure that the chair is close enough so that I can hold onto it comfortably when I need to. And we'll start by bringing our feet about hips width distance from each other and letting our hips shift from side to side. So your knees are a little bit bent, any amount, and your hips shift from side to side. You could have your hand on your hip or not. And we're taking our time. There's no rush. When you're ready, you could start to move the hip in a circle. So forward, side, back, side. And how does that feel? You're definitely starting to involve some other muscles, maybe in your lower back. Keeping the knees bent any amount and finding a place to pause and then heading in the other direction. So front, side, back, side. You could experiment with taking your hand off of the chair if you like. Coming around, breathing, and then coming back to center. Now we'll turn so we're facing the chair, the back of the chair, and we'll set up for an option for downward facing dog. So downward facing dog is a very popular pose in yoga classes, which you probably know, but it's hard for a lot of folks because we are inverting, our head is lower than our heart, we're putting a lot of weight into our wrists. There may be other parts of the pose that you're not a fan of. And so it's good to know there are alternatives. And this is one alternative that we call right angle, and it could be used anytime that a class is using downward facing dog. And you might want to have a wall or a chair to do this pose, but let's show you what that is like. So bringing your feet about hips width distance apart, bringing your hands to the chair. The idea with downward dog would be start by bringing one foot at a time back behind you, and you're just taking baby steps, and your knees are bent, and your arms can stay bent if you like. And you're finding a place that feels like your body is making something of a right angle. So the torso and the arms are more parallel to the floor. They're not going to be perfectly parallel. And then your legs are more vertical to the floor. You can keep the knees bent. Like I said, you can keep the arms bent. If you want to experiment with straightening the legs, straightening the arms, you can do that. And whatever your chosen position for right angle is, take one deep breath and feel the spine lengthening. That's really the advantage here. That and feeling if you're unbending the knees, if you're straightening the legs, you can also feel the hamstring stretch. And on the exhale, we'll start to unravel this by tucking the tailbone and then slowly walking our feet back up towards our chair. And then we can pair this pose with an upward dog, but a standing version of it. So for upward dog, again, feet can be about hips width distance apart, facing the chair, holding onto the chair. Start to gaze, lifting your gaze up, trying not to crunch the neck in the back, so only lift it as far as it's comfortable. Maybe it's sort of looking at the corner of the ceiling. Breathing here, you're starting to arch the back, and if you wish, you could also lift your heels any amount and feel that stretch and arch in your back. And one more breath here. And then lowering the heels and coming back to a neutral standing position. So let's do that one more time, starting with the downward dog. So hands are still on the chair, walking backwards, finding your supportive version of downward dog. Relaxing here for a moment, taking a breath. Feel how long your spine is right now. Maybe straightening your legs. And then bending the knees and starting to walk with baby steps back towards the chair. When you get closer to the chair, moving right into a upward dog position. So opening the chest, gazing up, maybe lifting the heels, maybe finding a little more arch in the spine, and then coming back to neutral. And then shaking everything out. Feels good, but it's also work. Work for the physical body, sometimes work for the mind. So our last two poses are both balance and strength poses, and they do work a lot with the quadriceps being the large muscles of the upper legs. And the quadriceps are so important to us because we depend on them for walking and walking up steps and stepping up onto a curb, and they help with balance, and they also really help with fall prevention, which is why they're so great to work with, trying to encourage your use of your quads through strengthening them, making them flexible, and they'll help you out with all of these different tasks of daily living. So we have chair pose, which will work our quads. Starting facing your chair, facing the back of your chair. Feet are about hips width distance apart. So starting to shift your hips back behind you. You're really hinging at the hip. You're not falling over, you're not arching your back. You're trying to have a long straight line from the crown of your head all the way down out your sits bones. Hips are lowering. You can keep your hand right on the back of the chair. Knees are over your ankles, and you can feel the weight down in your heels. That's a really good focus to think about. Where is your weight? If your back hurts a lot, you can always bend forward, but again, you're hinging at the hip. You're not rounding the back. If your back is not a problem, you could be a little bit more upright with your torso. And then you could also experiment with your hand position. So hands are welcome to stay on the chair. They could also raise off the chair and be palms facing each other. You could also have them above you, reaching up on that diagonal, shoulders away from the ears. And everyone together on the inhale, get taller and longer in the spine. On the exhale, can you sit back a little further? And one more time. So inhale, get taller in the spine, and then exhale, sitting back a little bit further. Weight is in your heels. And then bringing the hands to the chair, tucking the pelvis underneath of you, and rising up to stand. And then shaking everything out. And let's try that one more time. So feet hips width distance, sending the hips back behind you, holding on to the chair, or maybe experimenting with different positions. On the inhale, get taller in the spine. On the exhale, sit back a little lower. And one more time, inhale, get taller in the spine. And exhale, sit back a little bit lower. And then hold on to the chair, tuck the tailbone, and come up to stand. So that's your chair pose. That's a great power and balance pose. And our last pose today is tree pose. So again, keeping the chair at the ready here. Start by choosing which leg is going to be your standing leg. It can be either one. Shifting your weight into that leg and really thinking about the footprint of that foot. Are you happy with how your foot feels connected into the mat? Maybe lifting the toes, maybe grabbing at the mat with your toes. Whatever you want to do for more stability there. The other leg, the knee is bent, and with your hip rotation, you could take a couple of warm-ups, rotating the hip out and in. And then when you're ready, choosing your leg position and choosing your foot position. So the foot could be at the ankle, or could be on your calf, or could be higher up, but just do not put the foot on the knee joint. That would be unsafe. So choosing your position, still holding onto the chair, checking that your hips are pointing forward, chest is open, shoulders away from the ears. You can then choose your arm position. So just because one hand is on the chair doesn't mean we can't do a cool arm position with the other hand. So hands to heart center, or above you, or cactus arms. Whatever your chosen hand position is. Maybe you're looking at something in the distance that's not moving, and that will help you with balance. And when you're ready, you could always experiment with taking your hand off of the chair. If you lose your balance, feel free to put your foot down as a little kickstand and come back into the pose when you're ready. And then find your tree pose for today. Wiggles are definitely welcome. And take one more breath here. And then lower the arm, lower the leg, and shake out the standing leg. Okay, so you can do the other side in a similar way. So choosing the standing leg, feeling the foot intentionally placed on the floor, maybe raising the toes or having the toes grab at the mat. Once you're happy with that, having a little bend in the knee, and then warming up the hip by rotating it externally, back and forth a couple of times, choosing its angle, and then bringing the foot to the ankle or to the calf or above, but just not on the knee. Standing up nice and tall, maybe gazing at a focal point to help with balance. And then when you're ready, choosing your arm position. Again, it could be hands to heart center, above you, cactus, putting the foot down at any moment if you need a little balance support, or bringing your arm back down at any moment for some balance support. It is a strength to be able to accept support. And breathing here, so let's take one more breath together. When you're ready, you can lower the arms, hold on to the chair, lower the leg, and shaking the leg out. And really shaking everything out. We've done some lovely power and balance poses. Hope this felt good for you. Let's close practice today by bringing our hands to heart center. On the inhale, raising the arms up, maybe looking up. On the exhale, hands to heart center, maybe nodding your head towards your hands. Taking one more deep breath together. So inhaling and exhaling. And I thank you for joining us. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you next time on the mat and on the chair.